Hello, and welcome back to the Emagia AI for Finance podcast. This is Brian Chappell, Emagia's Director of Marketing and Content Strategy. We have a very special episode again here today. We have Mark Harrison from Callisto Grand, the founder and CEO of the group. You've been with them, looks like about 13 years now. Callisto Grand, of course, offers training, workshops, consulting, analytics, pretty much everything you need for analyzing the shared services world. We both share a huge interest right now in artificial intelligence, as it's sort of creeping its way into all business circles. So we're looking forward to that. Of course, Callisto Grand has some huge events coming up, including its Credit Matters conference in Prague very soon. So we'll get into that before the end here. Also, before you were with Callisto Grand, you spent some time with the Association of Credit for Central and Eastern Europe, and you actually started out your career as a credit manager out in the trenches there, which I know will be interested to. And our friends from the NACM affiliates that join us every 2 weeks for these. So, but enough about me going on about this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your personal experience in credit and finance and how that's sort of tying into interest with AI here in the modern day.
Sure. Thanks very much, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Okay, I'm a 40-year credit guy. I've pretty well all my working life I've worked in credit or order to cash, primarily in sort of B2B, sort of mainly large organizations and so on. And initially in the UK, and then around about towards the end of 2005, I got an invitation to go to Brno in the Czech Republic, primarily, or essentially, I suppose, to set up a shared service center there, or the credit order to cash side. And that was my kind of introduction really to the shared service center business model. I thought it was interesting, fascinating, very challenging, and I really liked the potential. So I stayed in that particular kind of transition for about 3 years, and I went to another much bigger shared service center, this time as the Emagia Credit Services Manager, but really kind of found that what I found in the one company was pretty much the same in the other. The problems, the challenges, the opportunities, and so on, which was really kind of why I ended up sort of starting what is now Callisto Grand. It was the Association of Credit, as you mentioned before, because there was I found us, although I was doing all the jobs and reporting and so on, as you would expect as an Emagia credit manager, I was also spending a lot of my time training people, training my own people in the shared service center, and also really kind of training the business as well to work with the shared service center. Because it was a very different kind of business model, and I kind of thought, well, if this was my experience in these two companies, I started putting out some feelers. I started going to some events and conferences and so on around Czech Republic and neighboring countries, and realized that pretty well everybody was having the same sort of challenges, if you like. So I thought there was an opportunity, and there was also no real kind of pan-European training organization that understood the shared service center model. So that was really how it all kind of came about with Callisto.
I think the elephant in the room for just about any conversation, so to speak, when it comes to business and finance is AI and what people are doing with AI and Gen AI and autonomous finance and whatnot. I think, on our end, we've been developing in this space for many years. So, Emagia is not new to any of this, but the level of interest that people had in the product, especially in the credit industry, where people generally tend to push change and technology away for a little bit because it's a more traditional group of folks, shall we say. But in 2023, we really kind of noticed that ChatGPT sort of broke down some walls, it broke down some barriers, got people using things that they recognize as AI versus the things we use that are AI that people don't think about. And from there, I think a lot of conversations started, a lot of tire kicking happened, and a lot of people are interested in solutions, whether they're building them or whether they're buying them, for their businesses to try to get more efficient. Did you notice a big bump in 2023? And if so, was it the ChatGPT thing? Were there other factors? And otherwise, was there just like another big moment where you kind of realized, like, oh wow, AI is going to have a huge place in the GBS and shared services world?
Yeah, it's been coming a while. It's been coming a few years, really, hasn't it? There's been a it's very exciting in the credit world now. I mean, there's a lot of service providers like yourselves, like you said, are really into technology, pushing it to its maximum. And so whether we're talking AI in its kind of true sense, or we're talking intelligent automation or machine learning and so on, it's the Chat GPT really kind of did kind of crank it up a bit as to what's possible, absolutely, and really sort of started turning people's heads. I think particularly sort of more senior executives as to perhaps doing something different than before. But and it's an interesting time now, because you're seeing pretty well all the various surveys from the companies that represent the shared service center kind of arena, and they're pretty well all saying that every shared service center head, every CFO believes that digitization is the way forward. And which it should be. And indeed it should have been a long time before. Like you said, there was a fair amount of procrastination in the past, as I referred to, kind of saving costs and so on and not investing. And now there has been a massive shift, yes.
So as far as people that are using it, that you see out there, that are having success or having problems, what kind of use cases are they applying AI to for their business, their finance, departments, and are those the right ones? Is that where they should be looking early on, or should they be looking at like maybe an easier, entry point and working up to that? What do you think about that?
Well, I guess the easy one, that's the most well established one to get comfort factor, is cash allocation. That's that's been around for quite a while, and and I think that's a good one as well, because it's generally it's high volume stuff. It's not particularly exciting for the people to do it manually or partially manually and so on. I think and one of the critical things about it all really is to, wherever you start with any form of technology, you've really got to understand what's your objective at the end of the day, right? And what do you need to do to actually achieve that? There's regularly, we see on LinkedIn and in various surveys, that a high percentage of projects fail. Right now, they in my opinion, they don't fail, but there's nothing wrong with the technology or the tools. It's largely because the understanding of what this technology can do, that bit is not really understood, right? What is the potential of what it is we're actually buying here, and where do we want to get to from where we are now? If we're talking DSOs and overdues and so on, where is it we actually want to get to? And very often there's not a clear path. There's not a clear sense of direction. There's not an objective that says, right, now we have achieved what we want to achieve, therefore this was successful.
What are some things that you're looking forward to with this, and what are some use cases that are up next? I mean, you already mentioned, cash out, but what can be like sort of the next step, and sort of big picture, with what we know now about what's possible, getting to where we're supposed to be. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think the exciting stuff really is when we talk about kind of adding value, people having more meaningful jobs and so on. I think one of the most exciting aspects of now and the near future is predictive analytics. Taking various sources of data that are there now, information that's probably looked pretty boring in the past. Cash App, stay with that for a moment. But when you factor in other things, payment profiles on Cash App, number of invoice disputes, credit limits, and you kind of bring all these things together, and you know how to bring all these things together, you can make some really powerful predictive analytics. You can show, making some assumptions, the company's going to carry on trading at this level, it's going to pay on these days, etc., etc. You can put forward very quickly that this account will go on hold because it will exceed its credit limit in 10 days time, 12 days time, whatever, so but that's an example, to say, of knowing which bits of data to pull together to create these predictive analytics. And the more you have those things, then the more there's going to be a free flow of data, because it's not going to get held up in things like held orders or stuff like that, so I think that's really where it's going to go, and that's where it should go, and that's the potential, and not just in one country, because again, I think one of the things that shared services have still got to kind of break out of is, even though you might have 15 countries under one roof, they very often will still have 15 different operating systems, as in processes and so on, right? And now's an opportunity to really grab the common ground and say, well, this is the same everywhere, whether you're in France, Spain, Germany, Italy, the USA, Australia, whatever. This is the same. It doesn't have to be different country by country. And that's what big a lot of your efficiencies and your cost savings, real cost savings too.
Right, and I know, of course, cost savings were a big reason for a lot of the original shared service centers and the rise in India and parts of Eastern Europe and whatnot. So with AI, just how much does this sort of change the game as we know it? Does it sort of disperse these centers where the call centers were so big and important? Does it really sort of change the outlook of how GBS and shared service industry matters are going to be handled en masse in the future?
I think I think what can happen is the centres that are there now, if we stick with Central Europe, sort of the area I know pretty well, they can bring in more more functions under their roof. They don't.
Okay, great. So switching gears a little bit. So for what you've seen, colleagues you've talked to, businesses you've studied, for those in the GBS world and shared services world that have been among the early adopters, are they seeing more successes than failures, more things to celebrate than headaches? Is it looking early on to them like it's been worth it, not just to do the project in general, but to be one of the people sort of, or one of the groups sort of blazing a trail? Has that had a benefit for them?
Yes, I think pretty well everyone we've spoken to has said there were a lot more growing pains than they anticipated, particularly when you things like machine learning and stuff like that, cash allocation rules, that kind of thing. But at the end, at whatever period of time that takes, whether it's 6 months or 2 years or anything in between, at the end of the day, they all definitely do get a return on investment, absolutely. But it might take, the actual kind of path to completion might take longer and give more headaches than they actually initially anticipated. But no, full on, and big respect to everybody who actually is doing this and embracing it over the last few years.
Do you think in the end they're going to be positioned a lot better because they faced the headaches earlier than later? Or do you think they just did all the work to kind of open things up and everybody's going to be on the same playing field anyway?
No, I think they're still going to continue to advance because once you kind of start on any kind of adventure, if you like this, and it is a bit of an adventure, it's a leap into the unknown. The thirst to kind of get it better and better and better, and also companies like yourselves, you're continuously improving as well. So where you were 3 or 4 years ago, you're a lot further forward as well. So you can say, well, okay, we had these modules in the past. Now we've got this, and this. So this kind of continuous improvement, and as the as your clients are getting wiser, so they'll also be pushing you to come up with bigger and better and smarter and more technically advanced solutions for them as well, because they'll realize that they can do more too. Yeah, and I guess you're probably seeing that from your side.
Oh no, absolutely, and I mean, you make a great point about the advancing stuff here and there. I mean, we've had various modules that we've offered to our clients for years that even though they were already working great, we sort of infused it with more technology or more automation, more analytics based stuff. I mean, we launched in 2018 our digital assistant Gia, or Copilot, since that's the trendy word now, and now Gia is sort of involved in almost every single thing we do. And as a customer is trying to use things, that this will pop up and try to kind of help guide them to where they need to get, and can be a real time saver and really helpful in just keeping things accurate and where they need to go. So and and a lot of people are relying on the Copilot thing now. That's I think if the big trend word in 2023 was ChatGPT, I feel like the big trend word in 2024 in our space might be Copilot, or because Copilot, I guess, sounds cooler than digital assistant. So now everyone says Copilot. So
It does, but I think we've had a few discussions in Callisto, either online or at conference or so on and so on, talking about ChatGPT in particular, OpenAI and similar providers, and it comes back to my point earlier. These things are great. I use them all the time, for writing materials, but you still got to kind of understand, whatever it sends back, you have to treat it with caution, and you have to read it and analyze it and make sure it's fit for purpose. You can't just take it for granted that what's coming out of these things at the moment is 100% correct. And thinking of sensitive things like dunning letters or that kind of thing. You can't just set up a system that directly relates to ChatGPT or connects to. You still got to have checks and balances, because it's only going to send out whatever it is you ask it to do. Yeah. So you got to get it right. So, and which also kind of comes back, I think, when we're talking about this whole kind of projects of implementing third parties, and talking about engaging the talent and so on to actually and understand the basics. One of the biggest problems, I think, also is it's very much a case of garbage in, garbage out. And you have fantastic companies like yours, and you implement everything, and you run all the receivables through your systems, fantastic dashboards. But if you got 15 or 20% overdue, and that's going back 12 months, you're still going to have 15 or 20% overdue, and also getting the data cleaner at the front end. I think these are opportunities that should be taken if you're going to embark on these things. Get the data right first time. So you really got to go upstream, right to the point of entry of every order, and otherwise you are, if it's not right at the front end, you just in no time at all, you're going to be getting fantastic outputs, but they're going to be preparing and sending out erroneous information because it's been wrong all along. So. But these are the opportunities to be grabbed. So yeah.
And some of those opportunities take a little more time to do it right. Well, but it bears fruit in the end, basically.
It does, and the devil's in the detail. This is something we talk about a lot in our coaching and teaching and so on. One of the things that's kind of fallen away, through should we say, the computer age, and particularly in the last 20 years or so, where you don't really touch master data at all. It's and again, it's done by somebody else, so the collectors and so on are not always aware of what's going on elsewhere, working in silos. So there's a lot. Let's say, for example, the field where dunning letters are suppressed, right? So now, it could well be that the sales guy at the point of getting a new customer says, we're not going to send these guys overdue letters, right? So the master data people will suppress that field. That could go on for years and years and years. But these companies, probably in the credit policy, actually should have a reminder letter, right? Now, that's not all master data is about prices and VAT codes and, you know, products and all that stuff. It's things like that that people really need to understand, you know, to go through. Yeah, you know, just that kind of field. You know, are all the dunning letters set for action or inaction? You know, are they suppressed? Should they be suppressed? Etc. Etc. You know, so which goes into other things as well, like, you know, portfolio management, parent-child relationships, a whole bunch of other things, which are all key and all critical, and are all kind of page 101 really of good credit control, right? But so this is kind of what I was saying earlier about, you got to really kind of know your trade to get the max out of technology. It's the tiny things really that trip you up, you know. So, and you've got to know what they are. That's where Callisto.
Gotcha. Hard to know where they are when you're learning on the fly too, I guess.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you gotta, and this is what I was saying earlier about, yeah, it's all very well having people, you know, working as data scientists, data analysts, and that kind of thing, but if they don't really understand the things I just described, the minutiae, you know, it's you're not going to get the maximum delivery at the other end, because it's the little things like that that are going to could potentially trip it up. You know, same with invoice disputes and things like that as well. There's far too many invoice disputes. You know, there shouldn't be so many of them in 2024, but there is. It's a curse of every company.
Yeah, I'm glad you got into you know, the data cleaning and the garbage in, garbage out stuff. All of that. That was certainly on my list, and that also speaks to things that come up in implementation. Of course, when you know, shared service or global business service company is on the brink of one of these you know, projects, and really starting to start that transition, what is the number one thing that you think they need to keep in mind and work on and really focus on to kind of, I guess, at least get things started correctly?
All right. I think the first thing is to, it might sound a little bit left field, but engage as many of the operational people as you can, right? Get them involved. And there's all sorts of little analytics that can be looked at, right? So that's where I would start. But again, you need to know what they are. So things like, you know, counting the number of invoices you raised, number of credit notes you raised, and how many payment methods we got, how many payment terms we got, you know. And this is all important information when you're doing these implementations. At the same time, upskill your people, right? I think because at the end of the day, it's the people that are going to make the systems work. You know, no matter how brilliant the technology is, you still got to have people to make it do what it is you want it to do, right? And this is one of the this is another one of the I think mistakes that companies make, is they'll, like we'll say, you know, look, we want to do our qualification course, for example. You know, oh no, we're implementing a system now. We're going to do that. That'll take about a year. We'll get people familiar with the process, and then we might think about upskilling them. Well, that's completely the wrong way round, right? Because all you're really doing at that stage is you're just perpetuating people working in silos and processes. They're just basically what the management kind of view is. We're going to teach these people a different set of buttons and keys to press in a different order, right? But still not really understanding the holistic view, right? So you're still going to have your high attrition rates. You're not going to improve anything. So our view really is that upskilling, you know, really in the true sense of the word, upskilling people in the understanding the trade. That can be accounts payable, accounts receivable, whichever. You know, that should be part of the project costing, right? You know, it's not a bolt-on thing, a nice to have. That should go together, and that's the platform really that you start, and then I'm absolutely convinced there'll be a lot more successes in these implementations if you really invest in the people. There's no need to go outside and try and get people, you know, that have these skills, because most people are going to have a similar background. They're also going to have a limited range of end-to-end knowledge. They might just have a little bit more experience, but they're still not going to be. I think very rarely these people are going to be the full deal. So I don't think you need to go outside. You've already got the talent. You just need to know how to get the most out of it. And talented
Great.
people, projects.
Okay, great. So, I'm sure you have a couple of busy months coming up here. We're going to be heading towards year end soon. What does Callisto Grant have coming up in the near future? What can you tell us about?
Yeah, our biggest thing is we've got our annual conference coming up, Credit Matters 13. We've been running these conferences every year since 2012. This year we're in Prague. It's October 7, 8, and 9. I know you guys are coming. We're looking forward to seeing you guys there.
We're excited. We'll be there.
Yes, it's our biggest one yet in terms of attendance, and we've got people come, operational people. I think the difference between what we do and other conferences in the GBS space is we focus on the operational people. So we've got credit managers, collection managers, cash allocation team leaders, managers, and so on. So it's very much, and that's the intention. That we want. It's probably the only place in mainland Europe where GBS operational people can actually get together, right? And they can share their experiences and talk to the likes of yourselves and get to understand the players on the market and so on. And so that's so with more than 200 people coming, 60 different companies, 50 different presentations over the 3 days. That's kind of keeping us busy these days. Yeah, that's where my hair went, by the way. But we love it. We're looking forward to it. We do it every year. So it's about 7 weeks away now, and we're really, really gearing up now. So it's that exciting, nervous time.
Okay, well, good luck on everything, and again, thanks for taking time out. I mean, I know the crunch right before such a big conference is so great that the fact that you can take out time to speak with our listeners and viewers is just so much appreciated. Before we head out, are there any parting shots that you'd like to leave with, or any sort of side topics related to this that we really haven't gotten to that you think are important to mention?
No, I think you've been good questions you've asked. Thank you. I hope I've answered them okay. I think really just I'd love just the whole shared service GBS model to really achieve its full potential, and to really get where it potentially can get to. We can really there's so many great opportunities that are now available. The technology we talked about, can really kind of propel things to where it could be. And that's, I think it's a fantastic time. It's also an incredibly exciting time to work. Full stop. There are so many economic and political and other pressures in the world these days, things we've never seen before. So the importance of credit, as in the whole kind of order to cash thing, it's never been so important, because there are just so many disruptions happening, and will continue to happen. That any company that is not thinking of maximizing its focus and attention on the order to cash area really should be focusing on the order to cash area. Cash really is king.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thanks again, and thank you all at home or on your laptop or on your commute for giving us a listen or another view. We'll be back in about 2 weeks with another exciting episode of the Emagia AI for Finance podcast. I'm Brian Chappell, and take care.